Hi everyone and welcome to the tutorial. Today I will be demonstrating how to horizontally wrap multiple stitches in your knitting. This is a technique where you temporarily move your stitches back and forth between needles, and as you do so you bring your working yarn around the base of those stitches, which creates a horizontal line across those stitches and has a really lovely decorative effect in your final piece of knitting. In a previous video I also demonstrated how to work this technique, but today we'll be doing it with a few key differences. In the previous video we were wrapping sort of 6 to 10 stitches, so we used an extra double pointed needle that our stitches were moved to so that we could quickly just wrap the yarn around the base of them and then knit them once we were done. Today I'm going to be wrapping less stitches. I'm only going to be wrapping 3 stitches, and this technique works for anything up to probably 5 stitches. So it's actually going to be quicker for me to simply slip those stitches between my 2 needles rather than grabbing a double pointed needle. Also, because we're wrapping less stitches, we're going to work less wraps around those stitches, because if we work too many we would start to get a real significant gap in the stitches. We might end up with a sort of hole. So because we're going to be wrapping them less times, we don't then need to work the stitches once they've been wrapped, as we don't need to have that extra height to ensure they will pop out above the wraps. And also because we will be wrapping them less times and not working them, we can wrap them in a different direction because our yarn doesn't have to come back to the point where we can then work across them. It can be at the end of the stitches, so that then we just skip them once they've been wrapped and work across the rest of the stitches on our needle. So that might all sound a bit complicated, but it'll make more sense as we get into it. So let's get into the demonstration. I'm going to use the example of wrapping 3 stitches, and as I said, anything up to about 5 stitches is great for this technique. So if your pattern says a different number of stitches, that's fine. Just work it over those stitches instead of the 3 that we'll be doing today. So your written instructions will generally say, with yarn in back, slip next 3 stitches to right hand needle purlwise, wrap yarn around to front of work, slip stitches back to left hand needle, wrap yarn around to back of work, slip stitches back to right hand needle twice, and now the stitches are considered worked. So let's see what that looks like. So with yarn in back, that means I leave my yarn as it would be as if I was going to knit the next stitch. We're then going to slip the next 3 stitches to the right hand needle purlwise. So we'll say I'm going to work my wrap over these 3 stitches here. So to slip purlwise, I insert my right hand needle as if to purl into the next stitch, and instead of working it, I just slip it to my right hand needle. That's 1, so I'll do that twice more. Insert the right hand needle purlwise, slip it to the right hand needle, insert the needle purlwise, and slip to the right hand needle. My instructions then say to wrap my yarn around to the front of my work. So my yarn is back here. To wrap to the front of my work, I come around the tip of my right hand needle and bring to the front like that. My instructions then say to slip these 3 stitches back to the left hand needle. So once again, as if to purl, so make sure we're not twisting those stitches in any way. We slip those 3 stitches back to the left hand needle. Then says to wrap yarn around to back of work. So we're going to bring our working yarn to the back. And then it says to slip 3 stitches back to right hand needle. So once again, purlwise, we slip those 3 stitches. I want to do those actions twice. So once again, I'm going to wrap my yarn around to the front of my work, slip those 3 stitches back to the left hand needle, wrap yarn around to back of work, and slip 3 stitches back to right hand needle. And my stitches have been wrapped. That's all I have to do. My written instructions say that the stitches are now considered worked, which means that I just skip them, these are done, and I continue knitting as I would normally across the rest of my stitches. Just need to be careful and check what your instructions then say to do with them, but if they say they're now worked, that's it, that's all you have to do. So let's do that again. We'll wrap these next 3 stitches here. So I need to slip them purlwise to the right hand needle, wrap yarn around to front of work, slip them back to left hand needle, wrap yarn around to back of work, slip them back to the right hand needle, and then once again wrap yarn around to front of work, slip the stitches to the left hand needle. I can do them all at once I get the hang of it, which makes things a bit quicker. Wrap yarn around to back of work, slip 3 stitches back to right hand needle, and they're done as well. So you'll see what the wraps are doing. They're creating these horizontal lines of yarn, and this can be used in a really cool way for all sorts of different effects. Something to be mindful of is that I'm not pulling my wraps too tightly, so I don't want to yank that yarn around too much. You want to keep them nice and loose, and that will make sure that the tension of your knitting stays even. Okay, so we'll just do that one last time. How about this time we wrap 4 stitches instead? So we're going to work it over these 4 stitches. So I'm going to slip next 4 stitches to right hand needle purlwise. And as I mentioned before, as you get the hang of it, you can start to slip them all together. So insert your right hand needle through all 4 stitches purlwise at the same time and slip them. That'll make it a bit quicker. Wrap yarn around to front of work. Slip stitches back to left hand needle. Wrap yarn around to back of work. Slip stitches back to right hand needle. Wrap yarn around to front of work. Slip stitches back to left hand needle. Wrap yarn around to back of work. Slip stitches back to right hand needle. And now the stitches are considered worked, and we can continue our instructions as per normal. So that's how to horizontally wrap multiple stitches in your knitting. Once you've worked them, on the next row or round, you would just knit or purl them, or whatever your instructions say to do to them, as if they were just normal stitches in your knitting. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions or comments, do leave them below.